Hey everyone, it's Types, and Abyssai is right around the corner. And again, Abyssai is the Japanese Pokemon TCG expansion releasing this week, late this week, and I'm super excited. There's actually so much stuff happening. There are three things: the release of Abyssai, the Japanese expansion, the release of Chaos Rising, the international expansion, and also the release of the battle or the build and battle format on Pokemon TCG Live. And so, I'm super excited to be covering those things, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss them. But tell me in the comment section which of those you want me to cover first, because I'm currently not sure which I want to go for first, then second, and third, and how much I'll cover on each of those. So again, comment down below in the comment section there which of those you're most excited for, because honestly, I'm stoked for all three. And especially for, lots of stuff going on in the Pokemon TCG. But as I've been going through this, I'd say Chaos Rising is okay. I've recently made a video talked about Perfect Order and Phantasmal Flames and Chaos Rising, though, and saying they're kind of meh, or okay, they're kind of terrible. I'm not gonna lie. Chaos Rising has some fun cards certainly, and I want to always get people excited, and I like being excited about the Pokemon TCG. But there's not that many super good or honestly super interesting cards from the set. On the other hand, though, if you look here, there's, we got the set here, scrolling through Pitch Black slash, this is Pitch Black. Pitch Black is the international expansion. It'll add a handful more cards than the ones we see here from Abyssai. Abyssai, again, is the Japanese expansion. Pitch Black is releasing July 17th. Abyssai is releasing I believe May 22nd, the same day as Chaos Rising is releasing internationally. But anyways, we will, I believe, see a handful of other cards. This could include other unreleased promos. Someone was like, what's happening to the Mega Delphox? That's coming as a promo in Japan, or is out as a promo in Japan, I believe. Is it already out? Japan, though, does have some promo, or they have promos that are different from ours. Looks like Mega Delphox is out. That being said, I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll be seeing, Mega Gallade EX, Crocodile EX, Adversity Insurance are in Chaos Rising, so maybe Mega Slowbro EX, and whoever this is, maybe Jet or something like that. But anyways, those cards might be in the set, but the ones we're taking a look at are the ones that are actually in the Japanese set here, and there are some pretty good cards. I also got a comment. Someone was like, yes, because I was really hyping up this set, and I was saying this set's pretty good, and someone's like, yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff in terms of top end, really staple cards. Does the set really have those? Because if you look at Chaos Rising, you see special red card. You look at Perfect Order, you see Meowth EX. You look at Ascended Heroes, you see Pokepad. You look at Phantasmal Flames, you see Dawn. I don't know. Phantasmal Flames is kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. And then you look at obviously Mega Evolution. You see Liz Determination as well as other, I guess, type staple cards like Fighting Young or something like that. And actually just a really powerful set there. Even Boss Sword as well, a reprint there. But anyways, with Abyssai, we don't necessarily see quite that, but we're gonna start with the trainers here. And I'm just going to go through them quickly. There's Dark Bell. Dark Bell is a control item. It also has to work. It works with the darkness stuff. Overall, the darkness stuff in the set, there's a handful of different archetypes in the set that are a bunch of cards, which is something we have seen a little in previous sets recently, but not too much. It's definitely expanded upon on this set, and they're really cool. But Dark Bell is, and the darkness confusion stuff is just what I'll call it, is part of it, or the darkness stuff in general. Dark Bell isn't super good. It's okay, but with those darkness cards, I wouldn't say it's super good there. Also, if you didn't know this, some people don't know this, but the type is darkness in the Pokemon TCG. It's dark in the video games, and it's darkness in the Pokemon TCG. Even though the card here is translated as Dark Bell, it's cards like a Dark Patch would say dark. They are two darkness Pokemon. Figured I'd mention that, but anyways, Dark Bell is okay. Again, in control stuff. With the darkness package, though, I don't think Mega Darkrai EX is super good. I guess I will quickly mention Mega Darkrai EX here as well. This card is able to do some bench damage stuff. There's also some bench damage synergies. Mega Darkrai EX, there is Pico EX here, or damage counter synergies, and also Chiyu here. Chiyu is also kind of interesting. I think they are okay. Not super good, but they're all right there. In terms of interesting synergies and interesting decks, I don't think they're super interesting. But in terms of power level, they're okay. And then you look at the other Darkness card here, Shadowy Darkness Energy, or Darkness Support Piece. Shadowy Darkness Energy is, by the way, these set of special energies, if you know, they are completed. Presumably completed with Shadowy Darkness Energy and Bolting Lightning Energy. We are not going to see Colorless or Dragon, it appears. We don't know, but that's currently what we see and what it looks like. I imagine that if we were going to see one of those, they would have been in this set. But Shadowy Darkness Energy, Prevents bench damage done to the darkest Pokemon it's attached to. This card also isn't super good, but it is one of these like support cards for a specific type, and part of that package, there's a card that refers to it, the Zarude there, but did want to mention that. But then you have this other general card, because I'd say Dark Bell is more of a general support card here that you might actually see in some different decks. But Heroic Bomb's another card here. It's kind of weird. It like does some damage if you get into it by a Mega. It's kind of situational. I didn't like fully read it out there, but it's a card here. You also have Gladiant's Decisive Battle. This is also a card that could see play in some different decks. It's definitely a really interesting card here. It increases damage you do by non-Deluxe Pokemon to your opponent's active by 80. So that's going to be a pretty big increase there, but you can only use it if it is the only card in your hand there. So Gladiant's Decisive Battle, well, it is a card that is really theoretically powerful. It's kind of clunky to use. I will talk about this card a little bit more later. I guess the archetype this goes with, which is the no hand size stuff. I think there's actually some really cool stuff there. I mean, I love hand size stuff and no hand size stuff as well, but I think there is some stuff that's actually pretty good. I think Gladius Decisive Battle could see some legitimate competitive play. I think it's a decent card here. It's obviously clunky to set up. You have Ultra Ball, and that's the main thing there, but you definitely have that, and that is pretty decent. There was also Rust in the King card. This is actually a pretty good energy disruption card. I think this card will see play as well. I think it is certainly not like a staple, but if you're looking for energy disruption, it's pretty good. We have Crushing Hammer being a honestly pretty good card in Standard right now. A obviously very annoying card in Standard as well. I feel like most people don't like that card design, but I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't like that card design. I don't know anyone who particularly likes it, but this is much more predictable, only working if your opponent knocked out one of your Pokemon last turn, then you discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. This is obviously always going to discard that energy there, so it's consistent. You have Meowth, you have other cards as well to search out supporters, so this will be able to, just be able to get rid of an energy kind of on command. It is obviously your supporter for the turn, though, so, you kind of look around as like, is this worth it? I don't know. I don't know if we'll see a ton of play. I don't think it will see a ton of play, but I would not be shocked if it sees some play in a bunch of decks and be a bit of a focal point in Control. Right now, Control doesn't really have an identity. Like, people, as far as I'm aware, are not really playing it. I've not played Control post-rotation. Tell me in the comment section, actually, if anyone has an idea of how Control is being played, if they've played it. Other than, like, Crustle or, like, Frostlass, which are both, aimed at taking prizes, which isn't bad, but I'm looking for, like, a toolboxy Control deck that's not, like, Monkey Dory Frostlass. Not that that's not fun, because I do enjoy it and do play it. Actually, it might not be fun to play against, but nor may any of those decks, but it definitely doesn't have the same gameplay patterns as, like, Pidgeot Control or, different types of Control decks. But anyways, that will fit into that those types of decks alongside Dark Bell here. Both honestly decent cards for Control, pretty solid there. Then we have the card that stands out to me the most, which is Gwyn. Gwyn is a card here that says you discard 2 Pokemon from your hand that don't have rule boxes. Again, a weird use of parentheses. I've said this in the past because it's not clarifying something, it's straight up changing what it does. But anyways, this card then says draw 3 cards for each Pokemon discarded in this way. This is slightly different than, I believe it's just a Roxy. I don't think it's Roxy something. And with that card, it was discard up to 2 Pokemon from your hand and then draw 3 for each Pokemon discarded in this way. Obviously, that did not restrict itself to non-rule box here. This specifying non-rule box honestly isn't that bad. Certainly Dragon Ball EX is a very good deck and is a rule box deck, but most of the Pokemon in the deck aren't rule box Pokemon. So if I'll just pull up a list here, pull up here the most recent tournament, the most recent regional, and we see the winning list here. It's running 14 non-rule box Pokemon. That's a quarter of the deck about. If you look at, say, this next list here, which is also Dragon Ball, a different build, running. How many is that? That's going to be, I believe, 17 non-rule box Pokemon. We look at another build of Dragon Ball here. This one's running. It's running, I believe, 18. Or no, sorry, not 18. I think I actually did the other one wrong. This is running 16. The other one might have been 15. Anyways, you see a bunch of non-rule box Pokemon in most of these decks. If we look at this low pony list, you see 3 or 4 EXs, so running 13. We look at this Mega Lucario list. Like 11. So, you have these non-rule box Pokemon that'll be in your hand a good chunk of the time, though certainly not all the time. And also, you don't always want to discard them, or you're not always, like, super okay discarding them. You don't really want to, but most of the time it'll be, like relatively okay. Generally, what I'm saying though is if you do discard these Pokemon, also I will say Roxy in expand or like when it was in standard or in expanded was a pretty solid supporter in my opinion. Like it's not a support that's played that much outside of there's a specific card or two cards that synergize with it directly by name. That's generally where it's played, but honestly, it's a pretty decent draw supporter. And if you can't tell where I'm getting at here, this card I think will be a pretty decent draw supporter. Currently, draw supporters in standard outside of Lilies are pretty bad. You look at Boss and Crispin, and those are good supporters. I mean, I'm not the hugest Crispin fan around. I guess I'm a bit of a Crispin hater. It's not a bad card by any means. I just think it's a little worse than consensus, but those are decent, but they're not setting you up. I mean, Crispin is setting you up, but they're not drawing you cards. Crispin gets you 2 energy, that's what Earthen Vessel did. And sure, Earthen Vessel is a good card, but it's no Professor's Research or Iono. And I think Gwyn can be that. It's not a crazy powerful draw supporter, but it can draw you sticks relatively consistently. You can kind of tune your deck a little more to work with this better by playing more Pokemon, which isn't like super hard to do. I mean, it kind of depends exactly what you're doing, but it definitely is doable. I'll push that number up to maybe like 20 or something like that, and then it should be working most of the time there. Overall, I think the supporter is legitimately good. I don't think it's going to be a true staple, but I think it's definitely, pushing that. Like, I think it's going to be an A tier supporter, honestly. I think this card's pretty good. I've definitely been looking for that next best supporter, and I don't really think that is met currently in standard. Behind Lilies, there's not really decks running 8 draw supporters where 4 of them are Lilies. Yes, there are things like the search supporters like Rock Scouting, Hilda, and Dawn, and those cards definitely can be good. They're just good. They're not great, though, I wouldn't say. And I definitely think Gwyn is on a similar caliber to those supporters. This card is pretty good, in my opinion. But anyways, moving on to the other cards here. We have some more deck-specific stuff. We got Fossil Excavation Site for fossils, which we'll get to. Bolty Lightning Energy. I'll quickly talk about this. Bolty Lightning Energy is going to be, I imagine, very good. I've seen this card in the past. Funnily enough, we saw this on Fighting with Strong Energy. Then we saw with Premium Power Pro, which also increases damage, which is Fighting in Standard. We saw that in the past with Lightning, with Electro Power. Again, weird stuff with typing, obviously, Lightning in the TCG here, and it's Electric in the Vidium. Yeah, like weird naming shenanigans there. But anyways, we got the types swapped, where Electro Power and Strong Energy were both very good. Premium Power Pro so far has also been very good. I'd be pretty surprised if Bolty Lightning Energy isn't good. Currently, I don't think it has super powerful partners. There's a Mega Zero Aura EX that, just like the Mega Darkrai EX, is intended for, a type, archetype, I guess is the term there. And it's okay, I guess. Not super good or super interesting. Definitely decent, though. When I say, like, not super good, I don't mean bad. I mean, it's okay. Potentially the best lightning Pokemon, or I don't know if the best lightning Pokemon in the game, but like best attacker as a lightning Pokemon in the game, post rotation, obviously with losing a lot of pieces like Murata and EX and things like that. Joltik Box, kind of falling away there. But anyways, with this card, I do think it will be good, but obviously it's not the splashiest card or anything like that. But as I said, I think it will be good. Same thing with Fossil Excavation Site. This one searches for 2 Pokemon with Antique in their name, or sorry, 2 trainers with Antique in their name that then become Pokemon once you play them onto your bench, and you just can put them there. So it's search for the fossils. Currently, the fossils in Standard, their biggest issue is not being able to search them. Honestly, most of them are bad as well, but they're not all bad. Tortuga is good. I do think Fossil Excavation Site with Tortuga will be meta, or somewhat meta. It is something that punishes items. Of course, also punishes items. Badoo, which is arguably the best Pokemon in the game. So capitalizing on people that are just losing to Badoo is kind of a bad plan, but items are certainly played, and Tortuga is just a pretty good card with Fossil Excavation Site. I think it will see some legitimate meta play at some point there. In terms of the other fossil stuff, there's also some really cool fossil stuff, but it's not super good. It's mostly gimmicky there. Mrs. Energy, which, by the way, kind of terrible name because it's not an energy. We'll see the translation, though. But anyways, Mrs. Energy accelerates 4 energy from your deck and then ends your turn. And it's cool. There is some fun water stuff as well, like Wailord EX, which is fun. I don't think it's super good. Kind of like the Mega Absol and not the Mega Absol, the Mega Darkrai and the Mega Zera Aura, and the Wailord EX I think kind of fits in with those being, I'd say that one's more fun and silly than those other ones. Not necessarily better. I'd say it's probably a little. I'd say it's definitely worse. I mean, it's a stage 1. It does have the highest HP ever, or it's tied for the highest HP ever, but tied with Mega Venusaur, which is a stage 2 3 prizer. Wailord DX is a stage 1 2 prizer, but it's mostly just big. It's big with its HP and also big with its attack cost, which with synergy kind of gets around. But then you're like waiting a turn, they're just getting hit into, and then you just like wasted the whole point of being tanky. But anyway, Mystic Energy is interesting. We saw, I think, Kiawe do the same thing in older cards, so we certainly see more callbacks to older cards here, like we did with the Special Energy, and Misty's Energy might see some play and might be good. Water's been kind of bad lately as well. It's had some good Pokemon, but mostly cheap Pokemon as opposed to some of the bigger good water Pokemon we've seen. When I say big, I mean like lots of energy good water Pokemon we've seen in the past. So maybe we'll get back to that, but right now I'm a little doubtful, but you never know. There's also Retry Badge. Retry Badge is super cool. This card honestly could be meta. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's definitely when we look at cards like this in the past, which are essentially better, objectively better than this card. This one lets you reflip attacks on colorless Pokemon. We saw one that lets you reflip attacks, or a bunch of cards that let you reflip attacks on any Pokemon. But right now in Standard, we have a legitimately very good Pokemon that's colorless, that relies on coin flips for its attacks. It's not a main attacker really, but I mean it's it's a pretty substantially good attacker, and Mega Kangaskhan EX, they are the best Mega in the game. The best draw, not the best draw basic, like one of the best draw basics in the game, or one of the good draw basics in the game. Just sees play, and Redraw Badge could see play with it. I don't know if it will, but it could. Outside of that, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this card. There is an synergy with Bombardier, I think, but Bombardier is not very good. And the odds aren't even very good with this card. They're like 50-50. So this can also play with Mega Audino EX. I think Mega Audino EX is a good card in Standard. It's not really a card played, but when I played it, it certainly felt fine enough. But looking at Mega Kangaskhan, I do think this card might legitimately see some play. It's a little weird. It's not giving you, I mean, it's improving your odds, but doesn't make it super consistent either. But definitely a card that would see play and is a cool trainer there. And then we have the actual fossils themselves as well. Obviously, the trainers are going to be the main focus of the set, and these trainers are okay. Gwyn said, I think, is very good, or pretty good, as like a, I guess like pseudo staple is what I'll call it. I definitely know that other people are lower on it than I am, but I think it's pretty good. And then also in terms of the other archetype specific cards, you got some pretty nice ones there for control, fossils, lightning, and no hand size, and also yeah, that's mainly what you're looking at. But yeah, some cool stuff there. Then we look at the actual decks. In terms of interesting cards, I will mention Toucannon. Toucannon isn't very good, but it is very strange. This card, I might make a whole video on. Tell me in the comment section if you want me to, because it's part of that trio that now has 5 Pokemon in it with Liz Clefairy EX and this card, as well as the Legendary Beast, I believe is their name. So super weird. It clearly is part of it. It's clearly also not part of it. It's so bizarre. But anyways, the weird card. But what's actually good, I think, is this Silvally. I legitimately think this card is pretty good. With the ability Buddy Call, which is once on your turn, you can use this ability. If you have no cards in hand, you search for a support or reveal it, put into your hand. Funnily enough, this has horrible synergy with the best support in the set, Gwyn. It has good synergy with, unsurprisingly, the Gladion supporter there, which is made to be paired with, and is part of the no hand size deck. The other Pokemon there are going to be stage 1s that attack for relatively cheap and can do some fun stuff, but ultimately are going to probably be a bit more silly than actually good. But I do think something like could actually be good. Searching for a supporter is super good. Having a good engine is super good, obviously. And currently in Standard, we have like Dracloak, we have Enzoric EX, we have the Dunsparce, we have Visdipty EX, Meowth EX, Mega Kangaskhan EX. They're all pretty decent. They're all kind of parts of engines, though. I think Silvally could work with some of them. You look at like honestly most of them, and they mostly go towards big hand size stuff. But this kind of fits almost alongside something like I could legitimately see this alongside Noctowl, I think. You can't search the basic or the stage 1, but you can't search the basic off of Fan Town, which kind of sucks. There's no type null in Standard, right? No, there hasn't been a type null since Sun Moon era. Okay, well, cool to see it's back. It's, I guess, a cool Pokemon. But anyways, yeah, so you cannot search that one out. One of the older ones had 100 HP, so even if we get another one, there's no shots getting 100, because that's, a substantially older card there. Power levels have gone up, honestly, not that much since then, but I don't think they're giving us an 100 HP type null. But in terms of playing this with Knocked Owl, that deck you're looking to do some bigger combo-y stuff. This can find you a card almost like Pidgeot EX. Obviously, it has the big downside of, having to require no cards in hand. You can get there, but you don't want to have to, like, spend resources to get resources when you could have just gotten the resources originally, right? You don't want to have to search an Ultra Ball to not do anything with that Ultra Ball other than just in your hand. But I do think you will be consistently getting Ultra Ball and using Ultra Ball, and then using that, you can find your supporter. And finding a supporter is super good. As I was just saying, Liz's Determination is by far the best, even with something like Gwyn, which, again, you don't want to search off of this, because it doesn't do anything. Presumably, I guess theoretically it could do something in some weird situation, but I really, really like Silvally. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't think it'll be good, but I think it could be. I think it could be all right. Ultimately, I think we need another card like Ultra Ball that is a true staple item that thins your hand. I think if we saw Quick Ball return, Earthen Vessel return, any of these other items that discard a card from your hand that don't increase your hand size, like I guess Superior Retrieval technically is an item that gets shrinks your hand, but or they discards, but it doesn't usually shrink your hand. Anyways, with Silvally though, I think this card's decent. Maybe, I don't know. This is a card I really want to be good and a card I love so much. If I'm looking at GLC, I really want to play this card. I don't really play GLC, but if I did, I'd play this card. And yeah, Silvally is so sick. I just love this card so much, and I think it could be good. Speaking of stuff that's super sick, we got the coolest archetype in the set by far, which is the Cursed Veil archetype. Cursed Veil, there's some Pokemon with the ability Cursed Veil. I've heard a lot of people say this counters Dragapult, and it doesn't really counter. I mean, it kind of counters Dragapult, but it's not some auto win against Dragapult. This deck is okay against Dragapult. What it does is the Ghost Veil ability. Oh, I think I said Cursed Veil. It's a Ghost Veil, or that's the translation. But this Pokemon can't be affected by attacks or abilities from your opponent's Pokemon. This is going to stop Dragapult EX's bench damage counters, which is nice there. That being said, you're not really looking to play these Pokemon, and it doesn't stop it in the active, so it's not like walling it or anything like that. Then you also see some different attacks here. Specifically, you're looking at, there's three you're looking at. There's the Sinistcha. This one does, if you have 6 or more Ghost Veil Pokemon in the discard, which again are the Pokemon with the Ghost Veil ability, of which there are 4 different ones, so 60 in total, you can put 4 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. That's pretty cool there. Funnily enough, doesn't do anything in the mirror. Then you have the psychic stuff. You have the Spiritomb. If you have 13 or more Pokemon in the discard with Ghost Veil, you choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon to play and quadruple the damage counters on them. This is interesting. I don't think Spiritomb is super good, but it is super interesting. Then you have the Delmise. The Delmise is definitely the most interesting, or I know, probably the least interesting, but the most potentially good of them with Regretful Rage if you have 4 more Pokemon in the discard with Ghost Veil, which is the same amount you need in the Lost Zone for Cramorant. Not that that's super comparable, because Cramorant and the Lost Zone stuff, you had a very specific way of getting their turn 1, looking at Double Comfy into Colossus Experiment. But anyways, with this, you just need to get these 4 Pokemon in the discard, probably using Ultra Ball Ultra Ball Prism Tower there, probably. Anyways, then you have Regretful Rage doing 170. This does one-shot Dragapult, I will admit, on a basic for 1 energy, which is good. That being said, it's a little awkward to set up, and so I don't think this card is. This deck is super nasty against Pult and going to be crazy meta. I could see it being meta, though. I do think it could be meta. I'd say it's probably 50-50 at being a top 10 deck, which is pretty good. Those are not bad odds at all, especially because, being top 10 means, if you look at the meta right now, being top 10 means you're beating out some decks that just aren't super good. They're okay here, right? But anyways, we got that, which is pretty cool. Oh, there's the retreat cost stuff. That stuff's also bad. Unfortunately, I think. But again, you're looking at, there's also some other decent EXs, like Laurentis EX is pretty good and stuff like that. So there's a lot of decent stuff in the set. As I said, the main stuff that you're looking at is going to be probably Ghost Veil. I do think the no hand size stuff is pretty interesting. I think the fossil stuff is really interesting as well. You're going to see some amazing support cards in Gwyn. Fossil Excavation Site, obviously a fossil card there. Maybe Control getting better as well. But overall, I think the set is super good. There are so many interesting archetypes and so many pretty good cards. I don't think you're looking at the very upper end being crazy high, but outside of that, I think there's tons of cards that are pretty playable and pretty decent meme decks. Unlike if you look at Chaos Rising, yeah, Beautiful EX is kind of cool, but probably kind of meh. It's not even super interesting or super good. It's okay. And okay, I've heard so much talk about Delphox. This card is not good. But anyways, then you look at Magunja EX, a good deck there. Like I guess Avalog's fun, but not like a full archetype. I guess it's a deck, but it's not a super in-depth archetype there. There are some other kind of interesting cards. There's Mega Floette, which has some support. It's pretty bad, but it is pretty cool, I guess. Gugas EX as well. So you have some archetypes like that. I would say it's a bit more limited than the archetypes that we see in Abyssal. Was it Abyssai or whatever? Pitch Black is the national expansion. Looking at the trainers here, you got a handful that are kind of decent type specific ones. Actually, tomorrow I will be releasing a video on the top 10 cards of Chaos Rising, and it will be an interesting discussion. But I'd say overall they're not crazy good. We'll see how that discussion goes with Uncommon Fossil tomorrow, though. So again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. But overall, I think Chaos Rising is, it's kind of to be expected from our sets that we've seen recently. But I think Abyssai is going to be, or Pitch Black, as I said, the international expansion, going to be really, really good compared to those. It's not going to be crazy, crazy broken compared to some older sets. Like you look at like Twilight Masquerade or something, that set's nasty. But I think we're going to look at the set and say, the set's pretty good. I think it honestly might be as good as Perfect Order, Chaos Rising, and Phantasmal Flames put together. Maybe that's a crazy take, but I think it might be. Honestly, looking at a lot of more mediocre cards kind of adding up, but honestly, like good mediocre, not bad mediocre. But again, a huge shout out to my YouTube members. I really do appreciate all of you for supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. And just everyone who likes the video, comments, subscribes, shares, all that stuff. Again, it really does help me out, and it's free. The membership isn't free, but it's just a way to support me if you really want to do that, and you just are able to do that. But just everyone subscribing and liking and stuff, that really legitimately does mean a lot. But I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.